I know it is shocking, George, to some Republicans that the government actually, on occasion, does something to benefit working families and low-income people.
You might not believe this, but it turns out that doing things that are popular makes you more popular. So in this video, I will go over the reaction, the data from Joe Biden's recent announcement to cancel some student debt. I will show you how Fox News has twisted this in just an obvious and blatant way. It shows you how they manufacture their propaganda. And I'll also show you a few clips here, reactions, Bernie Sanders, MSNBC. So a lot to get to here. Let's start with what I showed you initially when Biden first announced this, and that is how popular it is to cancel some student debt. So this from Data for Progress. They did this poll before Biden had announced this, so August 19th to 21st, saying a majority of voters support canceling all or some student loan debt for every borrower. So I'm not going to go over all the data points here as I did in the first video, but just showing you even 45% of Republican voters support eliminating at least some student debt for every borrower. So, you know, of course, Democrats and independents a lot more in support of it. But when you have even almost half of Republicans on board, it shows you it's a good plan. Now, let me show you how Fox News has twisted this. So you are going to laugh at just how blatant this is. So this is their headline from August 26th. Voters are split in support of Biden's $500 billion student loan handout. So there's a few things to go over here. I will get to the split aspect, how split it really is. But look how they frame this. And by the way, all the videos, if you search up Fox News student loan, they all call it student loan handout. It's a directive from above, like this is how they're told to message this. Yet when they reported on Trump's tax cuts, 2 trillion tax cuts for the rich and massive corporations back in 2017, their headline here, Congress approves final tax reform bill, handing Trump year-end victory. So this was no handout for massive corporations and the rich. It was a year-end victory for Donald Trump. This is their straight news, Fox News. This isn't the opinion section. This is their news section. Showing you the way they twist these headlines. Now let's get to how split. So they claim voters are split. This is, as you're going to see, in their own... This is the poll they use, so I'll get to their the way they frame this in their article. But Emerson College polling here, showing their question: do you think that forgiving $10,000 of student loan debt for borrowers making under $125,000 per year is too much, not enough, or just about the right amount of action? So you see here, 36% think it's too much, 35% think it's just right, and 30% say not enough. So 65% of voters are either in support of what Biden is doing or they want him to go further. Yet this is how Fox News frames it. A new Emerson College polling national survey suggests that Americans are almost evenly split in favor and opposition to President Joe Biden's recent student loan handout, with 36% believing the loan handout is too much and 35% thinking it is just the right amount of action. 30%, notice how there isn't the actual number here, just the word written out. 30% think it is not enough action. So they are almost trying to, not almost, they are trying to separate this figure from the rest of the data, as if it's not important to the two numbers that they highlight here. Yet, of course, it's important because it is showing that the vast majority of people, 65% of people, support student debt cancellation, either what Biden did or they want more. Yet they're trying to frame it as if what Biden did is there's split support in opposition and for it among Americans. But by them just focusing on what Biden did, they are removing the actual context of the support and the policy of student debt cancellation. And again, if you look up any of their videos, any of their articles, they keep calling it a student loan handout. They're framing it as people are against this, yet the vast majority of people that are benefited by this are making under $75K a year. So it's going to the poor and middle class. Yet they're trying to frame it as this massive handout to the wealthy when that is what the $2 trillion tax cut was that they called Trump's year-end victory at the time on their news section. It is just disgusting how this propaganda is put together, and you're not going to see a correction. You know, Twitter sometimes has those corrections that they put under tweets or on YouTube. You're not going to see any of that done because these are corporate outlets. They are allowed to misconstrue data and just lie to people without most people realizing how they are being lied to. But this is how they manufacture their propaganda. Now, let me get to the reaction from Bernie Sanders here to this move by Joe Biden.
You just heard Senator Blunt right there. He said this program is unfair. It's going to hurt the economy.
Well, he's wrong. 60% of the benefits go to people who are on Pell Grants. 87% of the benefits go to people who are making $75,000 a year. Look, I know it is shocking, George, to some Republicans that the government actually, on occasion, does something to benefit working families and low-income people. I don't hear any of these Republicans squawking when we give massive tax breaks to billionaires, when we have an effective tax rate today such that the 1% have a lower effective tax rate than working people, where major corporations in a given year don't pay a nickel in federal taxes. That's okay. But suddenly when we do something for working people, it is a terrible idea. I was in Boston last week and I was talking to nurses, and these nurses were telling me that they are working in some cases 2 jobs, outrageous hours, partly in order to pay for the student debts that they have accumulated. So in my view, the president did the right thing. And we have got to be really thinking about higher education in general. And in my view, at a time when hundreds of thousands of bright young people can't even afford to go to college, if we're going to be competitive in a global economy, we need to make public colleges and universities tuition-free.
All right, so in a minute here, I'm going to get to Biden's approval rating and how that has been impacted by the student loan debt cancellation. And I got a couple of clips from MSNBC as well. But first, Bernie brought up something that got me thinking. People that work multiple jobs, and especially if they live in areas that are where the cost of living is higher, what if they're making over the $125,000 that is the limit here for a student debt cancellation? Like there are people who are working their asses off, live in areas that are expensive to live just because of the location of where they are, and they probably aren't touched by any of the student debt cancellation, which again goes to the need to do a lot more and really should have matched the $2 trillion tax cut for the rich. There's about $2 trillion in student loan debt. Could have canceled all of it and matched that tax cut that the rich got back in 2017. But Bernie's point here as well to, make higher education more affordable, or in his case, free. Obviously, a lot more can be done. And that's why you see in the polling, people saying more should be done. Sure, this is nice, but more should be done. But now let me get to Biden's approval rating. So I actually got 3 different polls here. So this first one was not touched, or was not, this polling was done before the debt cancellation. But you see his approval rating ticking up here from 38 to 44 now in August. So this was done between August 1st and 23rd. Emerson College, the same poll. This was done after the student debt cancellation, up to now 42% from 40. And CBS News, also done after the student debt cancellation. So his approval rating was 42% in July, now 45%. Disapproval was 58%, now 55%. So Biden's approval rating has only gone up. As I said at the beginning, turns out doing things that are popular makes you more popular. Now, I want to show you a clip here from MSNBC. So they're going to discuss his approval rating, but Joe Scarborough makes a point at the end that I slightly disagree with, and I'll tell you why.
If you take this poll, or if you take, for instance, the Gallup poll, and you go back 50 years, stay with me here, you go back a half century, Joe Biden's numbers are actually higher than all of his predecessors at this point, are the same, other than George H.W. Bush after the Gulf War and George W. Bush after 9/11. So let me just say that again. Obama had the same numbers. Everybody else in the Gallup poll going back 50 years have had lower approval ratings. Now, should they be happy at 45%? No, they shouldn't be happy at 45%. Do they have a lot of problems? Yeah, they got a lot of problems. I'm just saying, you look at everything that's happened, and you look at the extremism on the Republican side. I know a lot of people are saying, oh, look at all the great things that the Democrats are doing, and they're making their list. I think so much of this is just driven by the fact that Republicans, as I've been saying for 6 months now, are acting, a lot of Republicans are acting like insurrectionists, wackos.
All right, so I'm going to get to some data that refutes a bit of what Joe Scarborough is saying there at the end, though I will say, I do think a lot of the, as I've said not in past videos, a lot of the move towards Democrats for the midterms is because of how crazy the right is. You saw the turn right when the Supreme Court overturned Roe. That was the beginning of a lot of this support growing for Democrats in the midterms. So definitely, I think it's bringing more people out, or it will bring more people out to the polls in November. But on the issue of Biden's approval rating specifically, I don't think his uptick in support is because of that. Because the right has been crazy for a while, and I'm going to show you some data here that goes to showing that actually this student debt forgiveness is a big piece as to why Biden's support is growing. So this from John Della Volpe. This is from the CBS News poll I showed you earlier. This is more data from it. Seems like Gen Z and millennial voters like it when POTUS delivers on campaign promises. CBS News poll tracker pre and post passage of the Inflation Reduction Act and student loan forgiveness action is notable and worth keeping a very close eye on. So you can see here, under 30. So in July 27th to 29th, when the first poll was done, this is again after Roe was overturned. So the right was already, super crazy in the minds of most voters at that time. You see the uptick by 10 points to August 24th to 26th. This is after the student loan debt cancellation. 10 points. No other group grew more than those voters under 30. Showing you that Biden doing something in that month is what motivated a lot of that support. So, hating the right or acknowledging how insane Republicans are doesn't automatically lead to people supporting Joe Biden. Joe Biden has to actually deliver something for people to want to support him and, approve of him. So that's why you're seeing the uptick here in his approval rating. Now, separate from, if Joe Biden did nothing, didn't do the student debt cancellation, didn't even do the Inflation Reduction Act, which, as I've said, is very flawed, but didn't do either, I still think Democrats would be in a good position right now for November, largely because of how crazy the right is. But just looking at Joe Biden's approval rating alone, you have to consider that him delivering here on student debt cancellation clearly influenced a large portion of this support, the growth in the support, because we can see it right here, up 10 points with those under 30. And as well, worth pointing out here, 30 to 44 also saw the second biggest uptick. Last thing here, I just want to show you. So they did the research. Morning Joe did, but I'm going to quickly go through this. This showing you how much tuition has increased. So Kamala Harris here, back in 1986, went to Howard University. Tuition then was about $3,000. In today's numbers, it would be $6,600. And in 2016 numbers, $23,000. So an increase of 251%. And worth pointing out that I'm sure it's increased much more since 2016. But showing you the massive increase here that is not based on, simply inflation, but really just jacking up the prices for no reason. Go here to Bill Cassidy, similar figures. His tuition was $450, amazing. In today's numbers, about $1,400. Now it's $9,300, an uptick of 526%. Rand Paul was $2,000. In today's numbers, $6,000. an increase of 441%. So in 2016 numbers, 36,000, insane. Joe Manchin, tuition for him was $232. Can you imagine? In today's numbers, 1,400. Now an increase of 457%. I think we got a couple more here, or maybe last one. Mike Rounds' tuition was $698. Today's number is 2,700. An increase of 359%. Another big increase. And the last one here, Blumenthal, tuition for him was $2,900 in 1973. In today's numbers, 15,600. And then 2016, 49,000. An increase of 216%. Nobody can possibly defend this. So if there is any criticism of what Joe Biden did with student debt cancellation, the only legitimate, rational criticism you can possibly have is that it did not go far enough. It didn't deal with the current costs of how crazy expensive higher education is.